2 days passed since the first meeting with the aliens. The world buzzed with excitement and fear. News channels showed the same footage over and over. The spiral ship, the strange visitors, and yes, the janitor who tied the alien prince's shoes. Ava hid in her temporary quarters at the base. People stared at her in the halls. Some wanted to talk to her, ask her why she did it, what it felt like to touch an alien. She didn't have good answers. She just did what seemed right at the time. On the morning of the third day, a knock came at her door. "Ms. Daniels," said a woman in a dark suit. "Your presence is requested at the meeting tent." Ava followed the woman across the dusty ground. The main tent stood in the shadow of the alien ship, which hadn't moved since it arrived. Inside the tent, important people sat at tables arranged in a circle. Military officers, scientists, government officials. They all turned to look when Ava entered. "Ms. Daniels," said Director Susan Foster of NASA. "Please sit here." The chair they offered was at the main table. Ava sat down, confused. She wore her janitor uniform. She hadn't been given anything else to wear. "The Verixi have requested your presence at today's meeting," Director Foster explained. Her voice was tight. She didn't seem happy about this. "The who?" Ava asked. "The Verixi. That's what they call themselves." Before Ava could ask more questions, the tent flap opened. The Empress entered, followed by Prince Zoran and 4 guards. The humans stood up quickly. The Empress's translator device, a small orb floating near her head, activated. "We will continue our discussion of cultural exchange," the mechanical voice said, translating the Empress's clicks and whistles. "But first, we wish to acknowledge the human who showed wisdom at our first meeting." All eyes turned to Ava. She felt her face grow hot. "The human who tied my son's binding apparatus," the Empress continued. "Please step forward." Ava stood on shaky legs and walked around the table. She stopped a few feet from the aliens, unsure how close to get. "Your name?" the Empress asked. "Ava Daniels, Your Majesty." She wasn't sure if Your Majesty was right, but it seemed safer than nothing. "Ava Daniels," the Empress repeated, the name sounding strange through the translator. "You acted without fear, without hesitation. Why?" Ava glanced at the human officials who watched with tense expressions. She looked back at the Empress. "Someone needed help," she said simply. "I knew how to help. So I did." The prince made a sound that the translator didn't catch. The Empress's exoskeleton shifted, plates moving to reveal new patterns underneath. "In my culture," the Empress said, "we value practical action above empty words. You alone among the humans demonstrated this value." One of the human officials stepped forward. "Your Majesty, I assure you that all humans share these values. Ms. Daniels is just a maintenance worker who saw what needed to be done and did it," the Empress interrupted. "While your warriors reached for weapons and your speakers prepared words, she solved the problem." The official stepped back, face red. "From this moment," the Empress continued, "Ava Daniels will join your delegation as a representative of Earth." The tent erupted in whispers. Director Foster stood up. "Your Majesty, with all respect, our delegation members are chosen based on expertise, and is practicality not an expertise?" the Empress asked. All 8 of her eyes blinked at once. "Is kindness not a skill?" No one had a good answer. Prince Zoran stepped forward and extended a hand toward Ava. On his feet were the same boots, now perfectly tied. "You taught me about human shoes," he said, his voice sounding musical through the translator. "I would learn more about humans from you." Ava looked at the offered hand. It had 6 fingers, each one tipped with a small claw. She reached out and took it. The prince's skin felt cool and smooth, like polished stone. "I'm not sure I'm the best teacher," Ava said honestly. "I'm just a janitor." "You are the one who sees what others miss," the prince said. "This is valuable to us." The meeting continued after that. The humans discussed trade, technology, and communication with the Verixi. Ava sat quietly, feeling out of place among the experts. Yet every time a complex issue arose, the Empress would turn her many eyes to Ava and ask, "What does the practical one think?" At first, Ava had no answers. But as the day went on, she found herself speaking more. Her ideas weren't complicated. They were simple solutions to complex problems. To her surprise, the Empress seemed to prefer these simple answers. When the meeting ended, Director Foster pulled Ava aside. "This is highly irregular," she said. "But the aliens seem to trust you. So for now, you're part of the delegation. You'll be given new quarters and a new role. Cultural liaison, we'll call it. What about my job? Ava asked. Who will clean the facility? Director Foster stared at her for a long moment. Ms. Daniels, you just got promoted from janitor to diplomat. I think the floors can wait. That evening, Ava was moved to a new room with a real bed instead of a cot. She was given new clothes, simple but nicer than her uniform. As she was hanging them in the small closet, another knock came at her door. It was Prince Zoryan with just one guard standing behind him. May I enter? He asked through his translator. Ava stepped aside, too surprised to speak. The prince had to duck to get through the doorway. His guard remained outside. I wish to speak without the others, the prince said. There are things you should know. He sat on the only chair in the room. Ava sat on the edge of the bed. My mother, the Empress, believes you are different from the other humans, he said. She was going to leave this planet. She thought humans were too focused on protocol and power, too dangerous to trust. What changed her mind? Ava asked. You did, the prince said. With one simple action. You showed her that humans can see beyond appearances, can act with kindness even toward those who look different. Ava thought about this. It wasn't a big deal. Anyone would have done the same. But they did not, the prince said. They reached for weapons. They spoke of procedures. Only you acted with simple kindness. He leaned closer. His skin glowed softly in the dim room. There is more at stake than your people know, he said quietly. We did not come to Earth by chance. We are running from something. Something terrible. What do you mean? Ava felt a chill run down her spine. Soon my mother will tell your leaders the truth, but she wanted you to know first. Because you showed wisdom. I'm not wise, Ava protested. I'm just a human who helped when help was needed, the prince finished for her. Sometimes that is the greatest wisdom of all. He stood to leave, his head nearly touching the ceiling. Tomorrow we will speak again, he said. There is much for you to learn, and perhaps much for me to learn from you as well. After he left, Ava sat on her bed for a long time thinking. She had started the week as a night janitor. Now she was talking to alien royalty about wisdom and terrible things coming from space. She looked out her small window at the stars. They didn't look the same anymore. They looked like places now. Places where other beings lived. Places where dangers might be hiding. Ava Daniels, former janitor, fell asleep wondering what tomorrow would bring. And somewhere above her in the spiral ship, the Empress was making plans that would change both their worlds forever. Morning came too quickly. Ava woke to another knock on her door. A young soldier stood outside. Ms. Daniels, you're needed at the main conference room, he said. Right away. Ava dressed in her new clothes, simple black pants and a blue button-up shirt. When she entered the conference room, all conversation stopped. Around a large table sat the most powerful people on Earth. The president, military generals, leaders from other countries, and at the head of the table the Empress Lishara. Ah, the practical one arrives, the Empress said through her translator. Now we may begin. Director Foster pointed to an empty chair. Ava sat down, feeling everyone's eyes on her. The Empress has requested your presence for this revelation, the president said. His face looked tired, worried. The Empress stood. Her exoskeleton caught the light, sending rainbow patterns across the walls. We have not been fully honest about our presence on your world, she began. It was necessary to first determine if humans could be trusted. The room tensed. Some of the military officers exchanged glances. We are refugees, the Empress continued. The last free members of the Virixi Empire. A screen appeared in the air above the table. It showed stars, planets, and what looked like a massive fleet of ships, hundreds of them, hiding at the edge of the solar system. Our armada awaits my command, the Empress said. They are cloaked. Your detection systems cannot see them. The military officers leaned forward, faces dark. One general started to speak, but the president held up his hand. Why are you refugees? The president asked. Who are you running from? The image changed. Now it showed another type of ship. Dark, angular, like a mountain of black crystal. The Morkai Collective, the Empress said. A silicon-based species. They do not communicate. They do not negotiate. They consume worlds for resources. The image changed again, showing a planet being broken apart, its pieces absorbed by the crystal ships. 3 of our colony worlds have been destroyed, the Empress said. Billions of my people gone. We fled to your solar system because it offers strategic advantages. Your sun emits radiation that interferes with Morkai sensors. And when were you planning to tell us this? Asked the Secretary of Defense, her voice sharp. When we determined if humans were allies or merely another resource to be used, the Empress answered honestly. Your world is strategically valuable. We could have taken it by force. The room erupted in angry voices. The Empress waited for quiet. But that is not our way, she continued when the noise died down. We believe in cooperation, not conquest. And thanks to Ava Daniels, we saw that humans have this potential as well. All eyes turned to Ava again. She shifted uncomfortably in her seat. How long do we have? The President asked. The Morkai will reach your system within 6 months, the Empress said. We offer our protection, but we need your cooperation to establish planetary defense systems. The meeting lasted for hours. Plans were made. Arguments broke out. Through it all, the Empress occasionally turned to Ava and asked, "What does the practical one think?" And each time, Ava gave her simple, direct thoughts. No politics, no grand strategies, just practical ideas. When the meeting finally ended, the President took Ava aside. "Ms. Daniels, I've been told your background. Night janitor. No college degree. No military service. No diplomatic training." He studied her face. "Yet the most advanced alien species we've ever encountered seems to value your opinion above all others. Why do you think that is?" Ava thought for a moment. "I think they like that I don't complicate things, sir. I just see what needs doing and do it." The President nodded slowly. "Keep doing that. Apparently the fate of our world might depend on it." That afternoon, Ava was summoned to the Virixi ship. 2 guards escorted her across the desert to where the spiral vessel hovered above the sand. A section of the hull melted away, forming a doorway. Inside, the ship was unlike anything Ava had ever seen. The walls seemed alive, pulsing with light. The floor adjusted to her steps, making it easy to walk. The air smelled like cinnamon and something else she couldn't name. The guards led her to a circular room. The Empress waited there, her exoskeleton now a deep blue color. "Ava Daniels," the Empress said, "the one who tied my son's binding apparatus." "Your Majesty," Ava replied, unsure what else to say. "I have watched your species since we arrived," the Empress said. "They argue. They posture. They seek advantage. But you are different." "Not really," Ava said. "I'm just ordinary." "Ordinary?" The Empress made a sound that the translator didn't catch. "Perhaps that is what makes you valuable. You see with unclouded eyes." The Empress moved closer. All 8 of her eyes focused on Ava. "The Morkai have already infiltrated your world," she said quietly. "They send scouts ahead. Shapeshifters that take the form of the dominant species." Ava felt cold fear wash over her. "You mean some humans could be these Morkai?" "Not humans," the Empress corrected. "Imitations. They cannot fully replicate complex biological systems, but they can mimic appearance and basic functions." "How can we find them?" Ava asked. "That is why I summoned you," the Empress said. "Your world leaders are looking in the wrong places. They search among enemies, outsiders. But the Morkai are clever. They place their spies where they can do the most damage. Among friends," Ava realized. "In positions of trust. Yes." The Empress's exoskeleton shifted, plates sliding to reveal new patterns. "We have technology that can detect them, but using it openly would cause panic. We need someone who can move without drawing attention." "Someone invisible," Ava said, understanding now. "Like a janitor. Like you," the Empress agreed. "We will give you tools. Disguised as ordinary items. You will help us find the infiltrators before they can sabotage the defense preparations." "Why me?" Ava asked. "Why not someone trained for this?" "Because you see what needs doing," the Empress said simply. "And you do it without fear." Later, back in her room, Ava looked at the items the Empress had given her. A watch that could detect unusual energy signatures. A pen that could analyze DNA from a distance. A phone that connected directly to the Virixi ship. She thought about saying no, about going back to her simple life mopping floors at night. But then she remembered the images of worlds being destroyed, of billions dying. Sometimes the biggest messes couldn't be cleaned up with a mop and bucket. Sometimes they needed someone who wasn't afraid to get their hands dirty. The next morning, Ava reported to her new position. Her cover title was Facilities Coordinator, a fancy name for someone who made sure things ran smoothly. It gave her access to all areas of the base. No one questioned her presence anywhere. She was still invisible in a way, but now she was invisible on purpose. For 2 weeks, Ava checked everyone she could. Scientists, soldiers, support staff. She found nothing suspicious. Then came the day when the first joint human Virixi defense system was to be activated. As she walked through the control room, her watch vibrated. Someone here was giving off strange energy readings. Ava pretended to check cables moving around the room until she pinpointed the source. Penny White, mid-level communications technician. Quiet, efficient, unremarkable. Ava casually walked past her using the pen to take readings. The results made her heart race. Not human DNA. Not DNA at all. She had found a Morkai spy. Now she had to decide what to do about it. The room was full of important people. Any confrontation could turn deadly. Ava did what she always did. She saw what needed doing and she did it. Ms. White, she said casually, there's a problem with the backup systems in room 12. Director Foster asked if you could take a look. White gave Ava a blank look, then nodded. Of course. Ava followed her down the hall, heart pounding. Room 12 was a storage closet. When White opened the door and found only mops and cleaning supplies, she turned with a frown. There must be a mistake, she said. No mistake, Ava replied, lifting her watch. I know what you are. White's expression didn't change, but her eyes turned from brown to crystalline in an instant. How unfortunate, White said, her voice suddenly different, harder. For you, and then she lunged. Ava Daniels pushed her mop across the shiny floor of NASA's lunar receiving facility. The night shift was quiet. Most of the scientists had gone home hours ago. Only a few lights remained on in the labs. Ava liked the quiet. At 35, she had given up on big dreams. She was happy with her simple life. A steady job. Health insurance. A small apartment with her cat Milo. The clock on the wall said 2:15 a.m. 3 more hours until her shift ended. Ava hummed as she worked, the sound echoing in the empty hallway. Then she noticed something odd. A faint shimmer in the air near the east corridor. At first she thought it was a trick of light. Maybe a reflection from the floor she had just cleaned. But the shimmer moved. It rippled like water but hung in the air. Ava set her mop aside and walked closer. The shimmer seemed to pulse. She reached out her hand but pulled back before touching it. Something told her this was not normal. She should report this. But who would believe the night janitor? The scientists barely noticed her during the day. They walked past her like she was invisible. For 3 nights, Ava watched the shimmer grow stronger. On the 3rd night, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed. Scientists rushed in during the middle of the night. Phones rang. People shouted. Ava pressed herself against the wall, trying to stay out of the way. Massive electromagnetic anomaly detected over Nevada, someone yelled. All readings off the charts. The president has been notified. Ava followed the crowd to the main control room. No one stopped her. In the chaos, no one cared that a janitor was among them. On the big screen, satellite images showed something appearing in the sky above the Nevada desert. It wasn't a plane or a satellite. It looked like a giant spiral shell, glowing with colors Ava had never seen before. It's defying our radar, a scientist said. 1 minute nothing, the next minute there. Within hours, the world knew. Aliens had arrived on Earth. The news spread like wildfire. The president made a speech. The military surrounded the area. And somehow, Ava found herself on a bus with other NASA staff heading to Nevada. They requested scientific personnel. Her supervisor had said, not meeting her eyes. Everyone goes, even maintenance. The alien ship hovered just 10 feet above the desert floor. Up close, it looked like a giant nautilus shell made of metal that shifted colors in the sunlight. No visible doors, no windows. Just smooth, flowing lines that hurt Ava's eyes if she looked too long. A stage had been set up. Important people in suits stood nervously. Ambassador Kira Nixthaliel, a tall woman with perfect posture, would speak for Earth. The military formed lines around the area. Ava and other support staff were positioned along the edges, told to stay quiet and out of the way. Then it happened. A section of the ship melted away. Light poured out. 2 figures emerged. The first was tall, at least 7 feet. Its body was covered in what looked like armor but moved like skin. 8 eyes, arranged in a circle, reflected the desert sun. The creature's exoskeleton glittered with tiny lights like stars embedded in its body. This was the Empress Lishara, they would later learn. Behind her came a smaller figure, still taller than any human but clearly younger. His skin was silver, with patterns of light flowing beneath it like rivers. Prince Zoran, the heir to whatever empire these beings ruled. The aliens walked slowly toward the human delegation. Every step seemed careful, measured. The Empress moved with grace. The prince followed, his movements less sure. Ambassador Nixis Thalial stepped forward, her rehearsed speech ready. This was humanity's first official contact with alien life. History was being made. And then Prince Zoran stumbled. His foot caught on the unfamiliar ground. He pitched forward slightly. It wasn't a big stumble, but everyone saw it. The prince looked down. His footwear, strange boots with complex wrappings, had come undone. The Empress stopped. The guards around her shifted. Their skin flashed with patterns of red and orange. The human security forces tensed. Hands moved toward weapons. One wrong move could start an interstellar incident. Ava didn't think. She just acted. Before anyone could stop her, she stepped out from the line of staff. She walked past the security, past the diplomats. She approached the alien prince. Everyone held their breath. The Empress's guards made clicking sounds. The human security raised their weapons. Ava knelt down in front of Prince Zoran. She looked at his boots. They were strange, but not that different from shoes. Something needed to be tied, so she tied it. Your boots came undone, she said simply, her hands working quickly. Happens to everyone in new shoes. The desert went silent. The prince stood perfectly still. He tilted his head, watching Ava's hands with interest. The Empress did not move. All 8 of her eyes focused on the human woman kneeling before her son. Ava finished the knot with the skill of someone who had tied many shoes before. She had helped raise her nephew after her sister died. She had tied his shoes every day for years. She stood up, nodded respectfully to the prince, and stepped back. She didn't bow or say anything fancy. She just did what needed doing. The Empress made a sound, a soft clicking that the translators couldn't catch. The prince straightened his posture and nodded back to Ava. Then the official meeting continued. Words were exchanged. Promises of peace. Offers of knowledge. The normal things that happen when worlds meet. No one paid attention to the janitor who had slipped back into the crowd. No one except the Empress, whose multiple eyes kept finding Ava in the group of humans. Later, when the aliens had returned to their ship and the humans to their bases, people would talk about the janitor who had tied an alien prince's shoes. Some thought she had been brave. Others thought she had been foolish. No one knew she had changed everything. That night, Ava lay on a cot in the temporary base, staring at the ceiling. She had just wanted to help. She didn't think it was a big deal. But she kept seeing the Empress's eyes, all 8 of them, watching her with an emotion she couldn't name. Ava closed her eyes and tried to sleep. She didn't know that in the ship hovering above the desert, the Empress was making a decision that would change the fate of 2 worlds, all because a human janitor had helped an alien prince tie his shoes. The Morkai arrived earlier than expected. Their massive world-killer ship emerged from deep space, a mountain of black crystal that blotted out the stars. Smaller ships swarmed around it like insects, thousands of them. Alarms blared throughout the base. People ran to battle stations. The fake defense systems activated, drawing the attention of the Morkai fleet exactly as planned. Ava stood in the command center with Earth's leaders and the Virixi High Command. On the main screen, they watched the Morkai ships approach. First wave incoming, reported General Martinez, engaging with decoy systems. The fake defense platforms fired, their weapons impressive but ultimately harmless against the Morkai ships. It was all for show, to make the enemy believe they had the upper hand. They're taking the bait, Director Foster said, focusing their attack on the decoys. The Empress Lishara, standing tall at the center of the room, turned to Prince Zoran. Prepare the Nexus Core, it is time. The prince nodded, then looked at Ava. No words were needed. They had trained for this moment. As they left the command center, the president stopped Ava. Ms. Daniels, he said, his voice solemn. On behalf of humanity, thank you. Ava didn't know what to say. She simply nodded and followed the prince. They boarded a small Virixi shuttle that took them to the mothership hovering above the desert. Inside, they were led to a circular chamber at the heart of the vessel. The Nexus Core waited there. It looked like a sphere of liquid light suspended between 2 control stations. Energy pulsed within it, bright then dark like a heartbeat. Once we begin, the prince said, we cannot stop until it is finished. Are you ready? Ava looked at the alien who had become her friend. No, she admitted, but let's do it anyway. They took their positions at opposite sides of the core. Technicians attached neural interfaces to their heads, a crown of light for the prince, a simple band for Ava. Neural synchronization beginning, announced a Verixy technician. Phase 1 initiated. The sensation was unlike anything Ava had experienced even in training. It felt like her mind was stretching, expanding beyond her body. She could feel the prince there, his consciousness reaching for hers. Link established, the technician reported. Phase 2 beginning. Now Ava could see through the prince's eyes, could feel his thoughts as if they were her own. Their minds merged, human and Verixy becoming something new, something more. Through their joined consciousness, they began to control the Nexus core. Energy flowed from them into the sphere, which grew brighter, spinning faster. On screens around the chamber, they could see the battle unfolding. The real defense systems had activated, catching the Morkai by surprise. Earth fighters and Verixy ships engaged the enemy together. But the World Killer was pushing through, its massive form unstoppable by conventional weapons. Target the World Killer, came the Empress's voice, sounding distant to Ava's linked mind. Together, Ava and the prince focused the core's energy. The sphere spun faster, glowing blindingly bright. Around it, gravity itself began to distort. Nexus core at 80% capacity, the technician reported. Approaching critical threshold. Pain shot through Ava's body. The neural link was taking its toll. She could feel the prince's pain too, mirroring her own. But neither wavered. 90%, came the report. Prepare for discharge. Through their linked minds, Ava and the prince shaped the energy, focused it, aimed it at the massive Morkai World Killer. Now, they thought together, and released the power. A beam of concentrated gravity burst from the Verixy mothership, striking the World Killer dead center. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself began to fold around the massive ship. The black crystal structure compressed, cracking, collapsing in on itself. A singularity formed, a controlled black hole that consumed the World Killer from within. It's working, someone shouted. But the energy feedback was more than expected. The Nexus core flared, sending pulses back through the neural link. Ava screamed as pain unlike anything she'd ever felt tore through her body. Through the link, she felt the prince's agony as well. Emergency disconnect, the Empress ordered. Shut it down. We can't, the technician replied, panic in his voice. The process is self-sustaining. Ava felt herself slipping away. Her consciousness stretched thin, pulled toward the singularity they had created. The prince was there with her, his mind holding hers, keeping her from being torn apart completely. Together they fought to control the runaway reaction, to contain the black hole before it grew too large, to channel the excess energy away from the Earth and the fleet. With one final desperate effort, they succeeded. The singularity collapsed, taking the remains of the World Killer with it. The feedback surge subsided. The Nexus core went dark. Ava fell to the floor, her body unable to stand. Through blurry eyes, she saw the prince collapse as well. Then darkness took her. She woke to beeping sounds. Medical equipment. She was in the Verixy mothership's healing chamber. The prince sat beside her bed, his skin patterns flowing sluggishly, a sign of exhaustion. We won, Ava asked, her voice a hoarse whisper. Yes, the prince confirmed. The World Killer is destroyed. The remaining Morkai ships retreated. Both our worlds are safe. Good. Ava tried to sit up but couldn't. Why can't I move? The prince's patterns shifted to a deep blue. The feedback damaged your neural pathways. The healers are unsure if you will recover fully. Ava took this in. Paralyzed, maybe permanently. She had known there would be a price. Worth it, she said simply. The prince made a sound that might have been a laugh. Still practical even now. The door opened and the Empress entered. Her exoskeleton was a subdued gray, a sign of mourning in Verixy culture. Leave us, she told her son. The prince bowed and exited. The Empress approached Ava's bed. All 8 of her eyes focused intently. You should have died, the Empress said bluntly. No human should have survived that level of neural feedback. Sorry to disappoint, Ava replied, finding a trace of humor despite everything. I did not say I was disappointed, the Empress corrected. I said you should have died. The fact that you did not requires explanation. She moved closer, her many eyes blinking in sequence. I modified your cellular structure, the Empress admitted. The day you tied my son's shoes. I recognized something in you then. Something we had lost in our evolution toward perfection. The ability to see beyond convention, to act without calculation. You changed me? Ava tried to understand. Without asking? Yes. The Empress did not apologize. I suspected we would need you. I made sure you would survive when the time came. Ava should have been angry. Should have felt violated. Instead, she felt only tired acceptance. Will I walk again? Yes. Your body is already healing faster than a normal human's would. Within weeks, you will recover fully. Relief washed over Ava. Then a new thought occurred to her. What happens now? Between our peoples? The Empress's exoskeleton shifted, plates sliding to reveal new patterns underneath. That is why I came to speak with you. I have made a decision that will change the course of both our civilizations. She activated a hologram display. It showed Earth and a dozen other worlds connected by lines of light. Traditionally, when the Virixi Empire protects a world, that world becomes a protected territory, subordinate to the Empire's rule. That was our original plan for Earth. Ava frowned. The humans wouldn't like that. Wars had been fought over less. However, the Empress continued, your actions have convinced me to take a different approach. Earth will not become a territory of the Virixi Empire. Instead, it will be an equal partner. The first of a new alliance of worlds. The hologram changed, showing the planets arranged in a circle rather than a hierarchy. And you, Ava Daniels, will serve as Earth's representative on the Galactic Council. Ava stared at the Empress in disbelief. Me, but I'm not qualified. I'm not a diplomat or a politician. I'm just a human who sees what needs doing and does it, the Empress finished for her. That is precisely the qualification needed. There are better choices, Ava protested. Smarter people. More educated people. Perhaps, the Empress conceded, but none who have proven their wisdom as you have. None who have earned the trust of both our peoples. Before Ava could argue further, the door opened again. The Prince entered, followed by Earth's leaders, the President, Director Foster, General Martinez, and others. Is it true? The President asked, looking between Ava and the Empress. Earth will be an equal partner, not a subject. It is true, the Empress confirmed. And Ava Daniels will represent your world on the Council. The humans exchanged glances of surprise and, in some cases, skepticism. Ms. Daniels has no diplomatic training, Director Foster pointed out. No political experience. She has something more valuable, the Empress replied. She has practical wisdom. She sees the truth beneath the surface. She acts without fear when action is needed. The President approached Ava's bed. Is this what you want? He asked quietly. Ava thought about it. About her simple life before, mopping floors at night, living in her small apartment with her cat. It had been a good life in its way. Quiet, uncomplicated. But now she had seen beyond Earth, had linked minds with an alien prince, had helped save 2 civilizations from destruction. Ava jumped back as White's arm extended unnaturally, stretching like melting plastic. The fingers hardened into crystal points aimed at Ava's chest. Ava grabbed a mop and swung it, knocking the crystalline arm aside. The mop handle shattered on contact. White's skin rippled, the human disguise falling away to reveal a form made of shifting black crystal. The Empress trusted a cleaner to find me? The Morkai's voice was like grinding glass. How amusing. Ava backed toward the door, but the creature was faster. Crystal limbs flowed across the floor and walls, blocking the exit. Your death will be quick, it said. Consider it a mercy. The badge on Ava's shirt, the one the Empress had given her, suddenly grew warm. Ava pressed it on instinct. A pulse of energy burst outward, pushing the Morkai back. Emergency protocol activated, said a voice from the badge. Containment field enabled. A shimmer appeared in the air around the creature. It slammed against the invisible barrier, screeching in rage. Human! It hissed. The Morkai Collective already knows everything. Your defenses. Your weaknesses. This planet will be harvested just like the Virixi colonies. Ava's hand shook as she pulled out the special phone. I found one, she said when the connection opened.
Storage room 12. Containment active, but I don't know how long it will hold. Within minutes, Virixi guards stormed the hallway.
They carried weapons that hummed with energy. The Morkai spy was secured in a special container, its crystal form now frozen in place. Prince Zoran arrived moments later. "Are you harmed?" he asked Ava, genuine concern in his voice. "I'm okay," she said, though her hands wouldn't stop shaking. It was disguised as Penny White, communications tech. "We must check her systems immediately," the prince said. "The spy may have sent information to the collective." Hours later, in an emergency meeting, the truth was revealed. The Morkai spy had been sending defense plans, troop movements, and technical specifications to the collective for weeks. The entire Earth Virixi defense strategy was compromised. "We must start over," General Martinez said, slamming his fist on the table. "New plans, new systems, new everything. We don't have time," Director Foster argued. "The Morkai fleet will arrive in 4 months." The Empress Lishara, who had been silent until now, turned her multiple eyes to Ava. "What does the practical one think?" All eyes turned to Ava. She wasn't used to this, being asked her opinion in rooms full of experts. But she had learned to speak when asked. "If they know our real plans, we give them fake ones," she said simply. "Let them think they know what we're doing. Then do something else." General Martinez leaned forward. "A deception strategy?" "Sometimes," Ava said, thinking of her years of cleaning. "The best way to deal with a mess is to make a bigger mess somewhere else. Draw attention away from what you're really doing." The room was quiet as the leaders considered this. "It could work," the president said finally. "But we would need someone the Morkai would never suspect to coordinate it." The Empress's exoskeleton shifted to a deep purple. "The practical one has proven her worth. She found the spy when all your security experts failed. And just like that, Ava Daniels, former night janitor, became the coordinator of Earth's greatest deception operation. Her days became a blur of meetings, plans, and secret communications. Her cover remained facilities coordinator, which now took on a double meaning. On the surface, she managed the physical facilities of the joint Earth Virixi operation. Underneath, she coordinated the true defense plan while a fake one was deliberately leaked. Prince Zoran became her closest ally. He taught her about Virixi technology and culture, while she helped him understand humans. "Your species is confusing," he told her one evening as they worked late in her office. "You fight among yourselves even when facing extinction." "That's just how we are," Ava said with a small smile. "Complicated. Not you," the prince said. "You see clearly," Ava shook her head. "I'm not special, Your Highness. I just don't have time for games. Never did." "That is precisely what makes you special," the prince insisted. "You see the truth beneath the surface, like how you saw that my binding apparatus needed fixing when everyone else saw only an alien prince." As they worked together, Ava learned more about the Virixi. They were an ancient species, explorers and builders. Their empire had spanned dozens of worlds before the Morkai came. Now they were refugees fighting to survive. "Why does your mother value my opinion so much?" Ava asked the prince one day. Zoran's skin pattern shifted to a soft blue. "In our culture, practical wisdom is the highest form of intelligence. Leaders who lose touch with simple truths lose their right to lead. And she thinks I have this practical wisdom." "You proved it the moment we met," the prince said. "While others saw politics and danger, you saw only someone who needed help." As the weeks passed, more Morkai spies were uncovered. 3 in total, each in key positions. Each one was caught thanks to the detection technology Ava now carried everywhere. The fake defense plan moved forward publicly. New weapons platforms were built in plain sight. Military exercises conducted openly, all designed to be seen and reported by any remaining spies. The real plan happened in secret. Underground facilities, hidden shipyards, technology exchanges between humans and Virixi that would give Earth a fighting chance. 2 months before the expected arrival of the Morkai fleet, Ava was summoned to the Empress's private chamber on the Virixi ship. She had never been there before. The walls glowed with shifting patterns. The air smelled of spices and strange flowers. The Empress sat on a raised platform, her exoskeleton now a deep green with gold patterns flowing across it. "Ava Daniels," she said, "you have served both our peoples well." "I've tried, Your Majesty," Ava replied. "The time has come to tell you the final truth," the Empress said. "There is a reason I chose you. A reason beyond your practical wisdom." The Empress gestured and a hologram appeared between them. It showed DNA strands twisting and comparing. When you tied my son's binding apparatus, I took readings of your biological structure, the Empress explained. Your DNA contains a rare sequence, one we have seen only a few times in our explorations. Ava stared at the hologram, not understanding. Your ancestors were not entirely human, the Empress said. Thousands of years ago, my people visited Earth. Some stayed. Some had children with humans. You're saying I'm part alien? Ava couldn't believe what she was hearing. A very small part, the Empress clarified. Perhaps one ancestor, 30 generations back. But it left a marker in your genetic code, a compatibility with our technologies that other humans lack. The hologram changed, showing a complex device Ava had never seen before. This is the Nexus Core, the Empress said, our most powerful weapon against the Morkai. It creates a controlled gravity disruption that can destroy their ships without harming others nearby. Like a selective black hole, Ava said, understanding despite the complex science. Precisely, but it requires two operators whose neural patterns can synchronize across species. One Virixian, one compatible human. Me, Ava said, the truth dawning on her. You need me to help operate this weapon. My son will be the Virixi operator, the Empress confirmed. You would be the human component. Together you could save both our worlds. Is it dangerous? Ava asked, though she already knew the answer. Very, the Empress admitted. The neural link is experimental. The energy involved is immense. Could it kill me? The Empress's many eyes blinked slowly. Yes. Ava looked at the hologram, thinking of all the people on Earth, her nephew, the friends she'd made, even the facility she used to clean at night. I'll do it, she said simply. The Empress's exoskeleton shifted, plates moving to reveal inner layers. You do not need to decide now. I don't need to think, Ava interrupted. Someone needs to do it. I can do it. So I will. The Empress made a sound the translator didn't catch. Then she rose and approached Ava. Up close, she was even more imposing, towering over the human woman. In all our travels, the Empress said softly, we have rarely found beings with your clarity of purpose. If we survive what is coming, I hope our peoples will learn from each other. Training began the next day. Ava and Prince Zoran spent hours in a simulation chamber, learning to link their minds through Virixi technology. It was strange at first, feeling another consciousness touching her own. But soon it became familiar, almost comfortable. Through the link, Ava saw glimpses of the prince's memories. His childhood on a world now destroyed, his training to become the next emperor, his fear of failing his people. In turn, he saw her memories, the simple life she had led, the sister she had lost, the nephew she had helped raise, the quiet pride she took in a job well done, even if it was just making a floor shine. Your memories are full of small kindnesses, the prince told her after one session, small moments that meant everything to someone else. Ava shrugged. That's just life. The little things matter. That, the prince said, is why you will help us win this war. As the expected arrival date of the Morkai fleet grew closer, activity increased. The fake defense systems were completed. The real ones were hidden but ready. Ava's days grew longer, her responsibilities heavier.